Well, good evening, EXJW community and other friends that I have that were never Jehovah's Witnesses. I wanted to reach out to you guys this evening and do a video that I've thought about over the last couple of days. And one thing that I can say for me is when there's news that comes out, some big story hits, one thing that I try to do is I try not to get emotionally involved with it. I try to wait and look at the facts, look at the evidence, look at events, what led up to a certain event, things like that. For the last 2 years, I haven't done a lot of XJW material because I've been focusing on more of what's going on in the geopolitical realm of this world. Now, I will go ahead and say right now that this video is probably going to cause me to be name called. There's going to be people that call me a conspiracy theorist. There's going to be people that call me crazy, deluded, and all those names. I know that's going to happen, and that's usually what happens when cognitive dissonance kicks in for some. Because for a lot of people, when news hits and then the truth comes out, they just want to distance themselves. They don't want to believe it. So what I wanted to present to you guys this evening is some questions, some critical thinking skills, and what has been my observation. Now, over the last 2 years, since I have gone down the geopolitical route, looking at things, I do believe that we are not fighting a left versus right thing. I do believe that we're fighting a good versus evil thing. And I do believe that Watchtower is part of a globalist agenda. When I interviewed, or when I wouldn't say interviewed, but when I caught the circuit overseer on camera admitting to the fact that Watchtower is still part of the UN, and that where he actually said that it was okay to have sex with children in Australia and you don't have to report it, those raised red flags for me. Now, at the time, I didn't realize how big that was until I got into the political stuff and seeing how things were working. And it made me start to think, is Watchtower part of a globalist agenda? If you really think about it, there's some that do believe that, the globalists, they do have a depopulation agenda. Well, Watchtower has no problem with 7.9 billion people dying at Armageddon. So it got to a point to where I was interested in this, so I created a Facebook page called Is Watchtower Deep State? And what we did on there is what we're doing on there is we're making connections to Watchtower and Masonry. Say what you want about that. This is not about going against the Masons or anything like that. I know there's people out there that really love Freemasonry, but anyway, just hear me out. So we look at events that have happened in the history of Watchtower and how they line up with certain things that has happened on the world scene. For example, and I'm going somewhere with this, guys, so just hear me out, please. For example, in 67, Watchtower started saying, stay alive till 75. They started promoting that. Well, what was happening in the world at the time? Well, at the time, the banks, and especially here in the United States, we were coming off the gold standard and we were moving into, quote, a new system, a new financial system. And in my opinion, and what I see, if Watchtower is involved with a globalist, they knew that was going to happen. And they knew that they were going to push in their, quote, Great Reset or New World Order back then. So that's just one example of linking things that happen on the world scene and watching what Watchtower does. That's why I say you have to watch events. You have to watch for things that they're doing, because I do believe that they're part of that system that they've railed about for so many years. Now, why do I say that? Why am I mentioning this now? Well, one thing that I have learned in the past 2 years is propaganda is flashy. It's instant. People want to have a reaction to it. Whether it's true or not, they will have a reaction to it. And it usually takes a little while for the truth to come out about things. I think that I seen a meme that said, what's the difference between a conspiracy and the truth? About 3 to 6 months. And I think we can see that being played out with this whole pandemic. Yes, I called it a pandemic. We can have that. We're going to have that discussion on the roundtable that we're going to be doing. We're going to record it Saturday. But a lot of the things that I was saying back in 2020 that I was getting called names for, I was being called a conspiracy theorist for, they're coming true. And there's a lot more coming out about that. But anyway, the point of being is that news is flashy and people are drawn to it. Now, I'm not going to talk about anybody's personal life. As I've stated before, which we all have choices we've made. I've made horrible choices in the past. Don't make them a pattern of behavior. And that's what I'm looking at here is a pattern of behavior. Here's been my experience with the gentleman, I guess if you want to call him that, has been since I've been in the community. When I woke up from Watchtower, I did watch his videos and I enjoyed them. They were really good. And it wasn't until I got to talk to him personally on a Patreon meeting that I joined EXJW Analyzer on. And he made a statement to me that just didn't sit well with me. And I came away from that experience with, I'm just going to say it, I'm like, oh my God, he's a dick. And from that point, it changed my viewpoint and how I looked at what he was presenting. Now, I didn't know much about him. I was new in the community. But one thing about me is I am in sales. I'm able to read people. I can look for signals and body language and things like that. And I trust my intuition. And my intuition told me that something was up. So let's have a little critical thinking exercise and show you what I was thinking. And then, of course, you guys can roast me in the comments if you feel the need to. But for me, one of the things was the title of his book, The Reluctant Apostate. Now, if you really think about it and search your soul on this, how many of you have left the Watchtower organization and were completely reluctant about leaving? Now, granted, there's going to be folks that say, well, I miss my family and miss this, miss that. I understand that. But now that you know the truth about the truth, how can you go back to that? How can you be reluctant for leaving? So that was just one of the little red flags I had. Another red flag I had was a branch overseer was in on his judicial committee. That sounded odd to me. And so over the past 2 years, I've just been sitting back in the background, just watching. And I've noticed that more political stuff has been brought up in the community. One thing that we've done on Toppling the Tower globally, my EXJW Facebook group, is we took a vote as a community and decided we're not talking politics on our Facebook group. And the reason why is because politics is meant to, it creates division. And those that know me know that I am all about unity. I want to see people unite. So bringing up politics in your activism, I didn't agree with it. Some have no problem with it. But me personally, I just didn't agree with it. Then it just transgressed into talking about different social organizations, whether they were a myth or not, backing organizations that have a very shady history, so to speak. So I just didn't agree with that. I just felt like it was pitting people against each other. And, that's just my opinion on that. So I started looking at all this stuff and I'm like, something's not right here. Then I dove a little further. And in the history of his videos, he came out and spoke against aggressive activism. Some people feel like that's a proper way to do their activism. Everybody has a different style of doing things. But he specifically came out against it. When the Roundtable did a Freemason video, I think it was couple of months later, he did one, and the reviews came back and was like, Lloyd, did you even look up anything? Because he diverts any attention from connecting Watchtower with Masonic stuff. And there's plenty of videos out there. You can look them up. That's what he's done. So you name your book a reluctant apostate. You got a branch overseer at your judicial committee meeting. You're bringing politics into the community. What else was there? Sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought. I apologize. But there's, and you talked about the Freemasonry and you pushed that aside. Now, if anybody knows anything about the globalist, one way that they work things is they like to have distractions. And when news comes out against them, there's usually a false flag, there's a distraction, or something like that. Why do I say that? Because I think that this whole thing with Mr. Evans is a distraction. I really, really do. Now, why do I think that? Well, one thing that the globalists use to funnel money is book deals. Now, I'm not saying that everybody that's got a book deal could be some type of controlled opposition for Watchtower. I'm not saying that. It just looks sketchy, okay? He doesn't have a regular job. Where's all this money coming from? Yes, he's getting it from his Patreon account and things like that. But how do we know for 100% certainty that the money that he gets, a portion of it isn't going back to Watchtower? Like I said at the beginning of this video, this isn't left versus right. This is good versus evil. And we know Watchtower is evil. And we know that they're all about money. So why not put somebody in the community that can draw a lot of attention, make some money, give him some on the side to keep him happy, and then that money goes back to Watchtower. So there is a possibility that everyone that has left the organization, the cult, that some of their money still might be finding their ways into Watchtower's pockets. It's very possible. Now, am I wrong? Could be. But here's the thing about critically thinking. You think like this. You have questions. You connect things. And then once you start doing that, you start seeing a bigger picture of stuff. Like I've said on the roundtable, this whole thing with the pandemic, there's a bigger picture here. And unfortunately, there's a lot in this community right now that are thinking on emotion. You need to put that aside. I don't care how you feel about him personally, what he does, I don't care. But like I said in my other video, anybody that is being divisive in this community needs to go. And how do you conquer or create problems in a community that's uniting against you? You put somebody in there to stir the pot. How do we know that he wasn't one of those pot stirrers? How do we know for sure that there's not other people that are in this community that are pot stirrers? Think about it. This is how these people operate. So why would this be coming out now? See, they're very calculated on the way they do things. These are smart people. They're evil people, but they're pretty smart in what they're trying to do. What just got presented a couple of weeks ago? Kim and Mikey did a video, actually Kim did, talking about them knowing about CSA cover-ups at Bethel. And that there are 2 governing body members that have been named as defendants. That was like 2 weeks ago. And if I'm correct, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, I think that court start, I think it's in March. I'll have to check and I'll have to double check, but I could be wrong on that. But it's coming up. So how do you take the EXJW community, the activists, the people that want to see Watchtower fall, how do you take their attention away from that? How do you take their attention away from the fact that they just lost the case in Norway? How do you take people's attention away from the court case with McFree and Dubtown? There's a lot of information coming out right now that paints Watchtower in a very, very bad light. And they don't want people to see it. So what do? You create a distraction. And I think that's what we're seeing. And so this is why, yes, there are going to be people that have had experiences one-on-one with this man. There are people that have their feelings about him, and they're going to express them. And of course, he's going to have his followers that defend him and support him. But before you defend and support him, maybe you need to watch Kim and Mikey's video that they put up today. It may change your mind. So what this community needs to do, address the Evans thing, so be it. But do not attack each other. Let people have their opinion about this situation. Do I think some are absolutely crazy for wanting to defend him? Yeah, that's my personal opinion. I think you're crazy if you want to defend him. No problem saying that. But be mindful of how we're treating each other in the groups. Like I said in my video before, the only people that win with us fighting is Watchtower. And they know it. And they're going to do everything they possibly can to create division in this community. And we are going to be at fault for allowing that to happen. So remember, this thing with Evans, it's going to play out the way it needs to play out. We'll see how it goes. But it is a distraction from what's really going on. Think about it, is all I'm saying. So, that's my little rant this evening. I know I'm going to get some brushback from it. You can attack me. I don't care. Because I feel very strongly about this. You can call me names. I don't care. But you need to think about that before you start doing it as well. So, I hope everyone has a wonderful night. And like I said, a shameless plug here. We are going to be filming our 4th episode of the Roundtable on Saturday. We're really looking forward to it. We are going to blow the narrative out the water on this whole CV thing. Now, I know that there's some that are not going to be interested in that, and that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But there are other people that do like what we do. We've gone down a different path, and it's just, we feel we're doing what we need to do. So, hate on us if you want. Really don't care. But the only thing I care about is seeing this community heal from what's happened over the past week and a half. As Kimmy said, we got kicked in the ass. And I think Watchtower is the one that kicked us in the ass. So please remember that. Remember our principles and who we are truly fighting. Not each other. And just think about the bigger picture. That's all I'm saying. All right. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for the comments, kind comments on my previous video. And like always, I'm sending much love to each and every one of you, even if I disagree with you. Have a great night.